church during a pandemic becomes, for many people, even more vital.
It seems like right now people are kind of overwhelmed just with everything that's going on. So I feel like we're still trying to figure out how can we help people, what can we do for them.
Everybody that I reached out to that wasn't like really connecting, they would tell me like, we are struggling, we are isolated, we feel anxious. They couldn't put into words, but what I identified quickly was they need people around them, and they need the church speaking life into them, encouraging them, especially in this season.
The issue that we struggled with was how to set the appropriate example and to, at the time early on, when things were still really unknown, not create too much exposure, to be good citizens, to follow the wisdom of doctors and people that know far more about viruses and pandemics than we do. We tried to follow what our local leaders asked us to do, which was to office at home, not draw people together, and do everything as much as we could online. We pre-recorded weeks and weeks worth of worship and had that edited to where we could use different videos for songs, and then our pastor recorded the sermon from his home each and every week. Everything was either was digital. It was text, audio, or video.
We were really quick to jump on essentially digital is the next frontier of ministry. And I think what we learned over the longevity is it's an important part of your ministry, but it's not the next frontier of ministry.
There were a couple of times that I think during that lockdown, churches overwhelmed YouTube and Facebook and other streaming providers, and because so many people were broadcasting when there had been not near as many.
Talking with people I work with, we said this is a time to change things. If ever there was a time to try something new.
There are kids who are really struggling with this isolation. They're struggling with anxiety. They may be struggling with their faith.
We are, our family staff, discipleship staff has launched a podcast called Faith Coach. That creativity and using that methodology came out of COVID and necessity of how do we continue to do what we feel God wants us to do in a way that is safe but still can be delivered to disciple people.
In some ways it's been a gift to be forced to slow down, to stop, and to rethink what it is we do.
I have learned like the real transformation that's going to happen is still the conversations that we have in small groups, the conversations we have before and after worship, and the conversations we have as we take students to lunch or to coffee. It's really those personal connections and personal relationships where God is at work.
But even with online worship being a great blessing, there's still nothing quite like being in church in person with people. Even if you have to wear a mask, there's something about, one of my friends says, something supernatural happens when we come together. And I think that's true.
Ministry is always going to be personal and individual and relational.
So as always, we got to pray, we got to listen, and we follow with the best intention for what God has for us that we can. So still much work to do. We're not out of the woods yet.